Welcome to Shatter.
Help me reach 5,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. She said it like it was nothing. You never hold me like you used to. I looked at her, calm, almost detached. Because I don't feel you anymore. The air went dead between us. We were at Olive Garden that night, surrounded by couples pretending to be fine. Her hand was wrapped around a glass of white wine, mine around a fork I'd stopped using 5 minutes ago. She didn't even flinch at my words, just smiled like I'd said something poetic instead of final. That was her thing, turning distance into performance. She leaned in, brushed my arm, then laughed at something my business partner, Ethan, said across the table. The laugh wasn't loud, but it cut through everything. Ethan had always been the charming one, the face of our company, the one who could sell ice to an Alaskan. I built the product, he built the illusion. And lately, my wife seemed far more interested in illusions. When the check came, I reached for it, but Ethan grabbed it first. I got it, he said with that salesman grin. She touched his wrist, a soft, familiar gesture that wasn't meant for me. I caught it in the reflection of her wine glass, that tiny, unguarded second. It wasn't about the touch. It was about the comfort, the kind you only show when the boundaries are already gone. On the way home, she scrolled her iPhone, laughing at something. Probably a meme he'd sent. I drove in silence, the city lights sliding over her face like flickers of another life I wasn't invited to anymore. When we stopped at a red light, she sighed. You're quiet again. I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. Later that night, she lit one of those Target candles she liked, vanilla and something artificial, and sat on the couch pretending to scroll through Amazon. I watched her reflection in the TV screen, her face empty, her eyes somewhere else. Something inside me shifted that night. Not anger, not jealousy, just the awareness that I'd already left, emotionally, quietly, efficiently. By morning, I'd stopped checking our shared calendar. I worked from the home office, headphones on, watching code compile as she paced the kitchen, whispering into her phone. The voice was low, but I knew that tone. It wasn't for me. When she came into the room later, she smiled like nothing was wrong. Coffee, she asked. I nodded. She placed a Starbucks cup on my desk and kissed my temple, the kind of casual affection you give someone you no longer think about. That was the first day I stopped feeling her presence, even when she stood right next to me. What she didn't realize was that I'd already started writing a different kind of code that week, not for the company, but for my exit. I started noticing small things. The way she dressed changed, softer tones, more deliberate. She began wearing that silver necklace Ethan once joked about buying for her at a conference. At the time, I thought it was just his usual charm routine. Now, I wasn't so sure. Our startup had just landed its first major client. Ethan handled the meetings, I handled the back end. It worked until I realized my wife was attending those meetings too, for the marketing angle, she said. Every time she mentioned his name, her tone softened. Not guilty, just warmer. The kind of warmth I hadn't heard in months. I didn't confront her. I didn't need to. I just watched patterns form the same way I debug code. Silently, methodically. When something doesn't add up, you don't panic. You trace the logic until it breaks. Late one night, I stayed at the office to finish an update. I left my laptop charging and went out for a drink, just a short break. When I came back, her car was parked outside. At first, I thought she'd come to surprise me. But then I saw the second car. Ethan's. Through the glass, I caught a glimpse of them. Close, too close, standing near the conference table. Nothing dramatic, just two people looking at each other like the rest of the world didn't exist. It wasn't lust. It was attention. I stepped back into the hallway before they could see me. I didn't want to interrupt their moment. Some truths don't need witnesses, just clarity. On my drive home, I stopped by a Waffle House off the highway. The same one we used to go to after long nights working on product launches. I ordered coffee, black, and sat there watching the reflection of the neon sign in the window. My phone buzzed, her text, working late. Don't wait up. I smiled. Perfect alignment. When I got home, she was already asleep. Or pretending to be. Her phone glowed on the nightstand. One message caught my eye. Ethan's name, half visible on the lock screen, followed by a heart emoji. That was enough. Not to fight, just to decide. I powered off my own phone and stared at the ceiling until dawn. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't explode. It dissolves quietly, piece by piece. until you realize the only sound left is silence. By morning, she greeted me with a casual good morning and a kiss on the cheek. I poured my coffee, nodded, and went to the garage. While the car engine warmed up, I opened my laptop and started the process I'd been postponing for months, rewriting our entire code base, line by line. Not for efficiency, for ownership. That was the real beginning of my distance. Not emotional, strategic. I didn't change my routine. I still kissed her forehead before leaving, still asked how her day was, still answered when she called. From the outside, nothing looked different. That's how real distance starts. Invisible, quiet, surgical. At work, Ethan acted the same. Confident, relaxed, cracking jokes about deadlines and investors. He had no idea I'd already begun building a parallel system. While he focused on presentations and buzzwords, I was writing code he couldn't access. A version of our product with cleaner logic, stronger encryption, and no trace of his name in it. Every evening, my wife would come home late. Client calls ran long, she'd say. Her perfume lingered longer than usual, not the one I'd bought from Bath & Body Works last Christmas. Something lighter, foreign. I didn't ask. She didn't offer. One night, she brought home takeout from McDonald's, a cheap peace offering after ignoring me all weekend. She smiled, said, "We should talk more." I nodded, but in my mind I was already erasing her voice from the equation. I realized then how love fades, not in one fight, but through thousands of quiet exits. A few days later, Ethan called a meeting about expanding partnerships. He presented ideas I'd written weeks ago, word for word. My wife was there too, nodding, supporting every line. I didn't look at her. I just watched her defend him the way she used to defend me. After the meeting, I stayed behind. My laptop screen reflected both their names on the shared documents. Same timestamps. Same login pattern. She'd been forwarding him updates. Small, subtle ones, but enough to confirm what I already knew. That night, I didn't confront her. I just poured myself a drink, sat at my desk, and let the quiet spread. When she came in, she tried to talk about a new marketing campaign. I listened, half smiling, while transferring every company file to a new encrypted server. She had no idea that, in real time, I was removing both of them from the system they thought they controlled. The next morning, she left early, meeting with Ethan, she said. I watched her drive away, then logged into our investor portal. One silent transaction, one email draft. I wasn't ending the company. I was reclaiming it. When she came back that night, I greeted her the same way I always did. Steady, unreadable. She thought I'd forgiven her silence. She didn't know I'd already started speaking a different language, one made entirely of actions. Disappearing isn't about leaving. It's about removing access. One quiet morning, I stopped sharing my calendar, stopped syncing the project files, stopped answering Ethan's late-night texts. I left every message on read, knowing that silence would say more than words ever could. My wife noticed first. She asked if something was wrong, if I was tired. I told her everything was fine, which, in a way, was true. I had never been clearer. By the end of that week, I disconnected from the company's servers, took a few personal days, and drove out of town in my Ford F-150. The road felt lighter than it had in years. My phone buzzed constantly, her calls, his messages, investor alerts, but I ignored them all. I checked into a small motel outside Nashville, ordered black coffee from a Waffle House across the street, and watched the rain slide down the glass. I wasn't running away. I was stepping back to see the picture without distortion. From that distance, everything made sense. She wasn't in love with Ethan. She was in love with the way he made her feel seen. He didn't love her either. He just needed someone close to me. Attention disguised as affection, a common virus. 2 days later, I opened my laptop and finished what I'd started. I sent one email to our investor, offering to buy Ethan's share at a fair price. Attached were the documents proving his quiet breaches of contract, client data shared without clearance, misused funds, little things no one noticed because everyone liked his smile. I didn't accuse him. I didn't even mention my wife. I just let the numbers speak. After hitting send, I switched off my phone. The next morning, I checked out, drove back, and walked into the house like nothing happened. She was there, sitting on the couch, scrolling through her iPhone with red, tired eyes. She asked where I'd been. I said I needed space. She didn't believe me, but she didn't press. Her voice cracked a little when she said, "I missed you." I looked at her for a long time before answering. Not coldly, just distant enough. I told her, "You said you wanted to feel something. Now you can." Then I picked up my keys and walked out again. That was the first time she realized silence could hurt more than anger. The following week felt unnaturally calm. Ethan didn't show up to the office, and my wife stopped mentioning his name. She still pretended to scroll through work emails, still smiled when I walked in, but the light behind those gestures was gone. Something in her had shifted. Maybe she'd finally noticed that I wasn't orbiting her anymore. By Wednesday, the first email hit his inbox, a notification from the investors. The board was reviewing the discrepancies in his reports. I hadn't sent it anonymously. I didn't need to. My name carried enough weight, and the data spoke for itself. While Ethan scrambled to explain himself, I finalized a new contract, not with him, but with one of our competitors. It wasn't revenge. It was optimization. He had been the bug in the system, and I simply removed it. That night, she came into my office holding 2 mugs of Starbucks coffee. She said she thought I could use a break. Her eyes were softer than I'd seen in months, searching for something familiar. I thanked her, took a sip, and kept working. She waited, hoping I'd look up, but I didn't. When she finally left, I heard the faintest sound of her exhaling, the sound of someone realizing control had slipped away. Ethan tried to call me the next morning. I let it ring until it stopped. Then another call came, this time from her. "He's in trouble," she said. "They're saying he stole data." I asked if he did. She paused too long before saying no. That silence was an answer. I told her calmly, "Then he'll figure it out." Later that day, a mutual friend texted me, "Man, Ethan's melting down. Investors pulled him off everything." I stared at the message for a while, then locked my phone and went back to my code. There was no satisfaction, no victory, just completion. When I got home, she was sitting at the table, not scrolling, not smiling. She asked if I'd known what was happening. I said I hadn't been following. She looked at me like she was seeing a stranger. "You're different," she whispered. I said, "No, you just stopped recognizing me when I stopped chasing you." That night, she stayed silent. For once, it wasn't the comfortable kind. It was the kind that echoes, the kind that makes you realize the person you thought would always be there has already stepped out of reach. Word spread fast. By the end of that week, everyone in our small circle knew Ethan had been removed from the project. Investors cut ties, and his reputation collapsed overnight. I didn't have to say a word. People drew their own conclusions. Some thought I'd orchestrated it. Others believed he'd simply slipped. I didn't correct anyone. Silence makes people fill in the blanks, and usually, they fill them with truth. At home, my wife avoided eye contact. She stopped dressing up for work, stopped humming in the mornings, stopped pretending to text anyone. The house grew heavy with that particular quiet that follows humiliation. She still went out sometimes, probably to see friends. But when she returned, I could tell by her face that the conversations had changed. Pity is a smell people can't wash off. One evening, she stood in the doorway as I typed on my laptop. She said softly, "People are saying things that aren't true." I didn't look up. I told her, "Then tell them the truth." She didn't answer. She just stood there, waiting for some sign of the man who used to chase her. But that version of me didn't exist anymore. At work, the team moved forward without Ethan. We launched the new version of our product, my version, and it worked flawlessly. For the first time in years, everything ran exactly how I intended. No drama, no noise, just precision. That night, she tried to talk again. Said she missed how things used to be, that she didn't know when it all started falling apart. I let her speak. I didn't interrupt. She searched my face for emotion, any hint that I still cared. When she couldn't find it, she whispered, "You really don't feel anything, do you?" I said nothing, because that was the point. Later, I heard her crying quietly in the bedroom. Not loud, not dramatic, just small, broken sounds, the kind that don't ask for comfort anymore. She didn't realize that I was still awake, listening from the hallway, and that for a brief second, I did feel something. Not pain, not guilt, just a faint echo of what used to be. The next morning, I left early, stopped at Starbucks, and sat in the parking lot with my coffee, staring at my reflection in the window. I looked calm, detached, exactly how I wanted to be. She had wanted to feel something. Now she finally did, absence. And absence was louder than any words I could have spoken. Time slowed after that. The chaos was gone, replaced by something quieter, heavier. She still lived in the same house, but she moved differently now, cautious, almost invisible. Mornings were mechanical. She'd pour coffee, scroll her iPhone, and stare at nothing for minutes before realizing the cup was still full. I watched from across the room, saying nothing. It wasn't cruelty. It was observation. She had built a world of noise, and now she was drowning in silence. Her friends stopped visiting. The calls came less often. Even her family, who used to adore her energy, started keeping their distance. One evening, I overheard her talking to her sister, her voice small, shaky. "I don't know what happened. He's here, but he's gone." She was right. I was there physically, but emotionally, I'd moved somewhere she couldn't follow. At work, things thrived. Investors were pleased, and I kept everything minimal. No small talk, no explanations. The company became a mirror of how I lived now. Efficient, detached, exact. Ethan's name vanished from every document. His existence had been reduced to a memory, a ghost inside the system he helped build. Sometimes I caught her looking at me, trying to find traces of the man she fell in love with. She'd hover near the office door, pretending to need something, then retreat when I didn't react. Once, she left a note on my desk that said, "Can we talk?" I folded it once and slid it into the trash. She saw it later, said nothing. That was the moment she understood she no longer had access. At night, the house echoed differently. Every sound, a step, a sigh, a drawer closing, carried weight. The warmth she used to fill the rooms with had turned into emptiness. She had wanted to feel something real, something intense. Now she did, but it wasn't love. It was distance, raw, permanent, and unspoken. One Sunday, she asked if I wanted to drive with her to Target, just to get out of the house. I said I had work to finish. She smiled sadly and left alone. When she came back, her face was pale, her eyes red. Maybe someone had recognized her. Maybe no one had. Either way, she finally looked like someone who'd met the edge of their own choices. That night, she sat beside me on the couch but didn't speak. I didn't move away, but I didn't reach out either. The distance between us wasn't physical anymore. It was absolute. It was a Tuesday night when she finally broke the silence. I was sitting in the kitchen, laptop open, reviewing new contracts. She came in quietly, barefoot, eyes swollen from another night of trying not to cry. She stood across from me, hands trembling around a cup of water, and said, "I need to understand. When did you stop loving me?" I didn't look up right away. I wanted to give her a chance to hear the weight of her own question. When I finally spoke, my voice was calm. I told her, "The moment I realized you were more loyal to attention than to truth." She sat down, shaking her head, whispering that she never meant to hurt me, that it just happened. That phrase, "it just happened," hit harder than the betrayal itself. I didn't argue. I didn't remind her of the nights she came home smelling of someone else's cologne or the text she thought I didn't notice. I just closed the laptop, stood, and said, "You chose noise. I chose peace." Then I walked past her and left the room. That was the night she realized I wasn't coming back emotionally. She tried to reach me in small ways, leaving my favorite dinner on the table, sending me random messages in the middle of the day, soft apologies hidden between mundane sentences. I read every word and responded to none. Forgiveness wasn't the goal anymore. Distance was. At work, people treated me differently. Not because they knew the story, but because they felt the shift. I wasn't the quiet, accommodating guy anymore. I was precise, distant, and somehow more respected. The company was growing faster than ever. That clarity came at a price, but I was willing to pay it. When I got home one evening, she was waiting at the door. She asked if we could take a walk. I said nothing, just followed. The air was cold, still. She said she missed how I used to look at her, that she felt invisible now. I told her, "You made me invisible first." She stopped walking. I kept going. When I turned back, she was standing under a streetlight, small and quiet, watching me like someone seeing the ending they caused but didn't want. The kind of ending that doesn't explode, it fades, one quiet heartbeat at a time. That night, I slept without dreams for the first time in years. Days turned into weeks, and the silence between us became its own language. She tried to live as if things were normal, cooking dinner, asking about work, pretending the air wasn't thick with everything unspoken. But every time I looked at her, she seemed smaller, like a photograph left in the sun too long. She'd fade a little more each day. One afternoon, she came home early. I was in the garage, fixing something that didn't need fixing. She stood in the doorway, watching me, and said softly, "I lost my job." I didn't look up right away. She explained that the agency had been restructuring, but I knew the truth. No company wants someone surrounded by quiet scandal. Her name had started circulating. The woman who blurred lines, who mixed business and emotion. The same whispers that once thrilled her now burned. I nodded, wiped my hands, and said, "You'll figure something out." That was all. She waited for comfort that didn't come, for a hand that didn't reach out. When she walked back inside, I heard her break down in the kitchen. The sound didn't shake me. It settled me. Because for the first time, she was finally feeling what she made me feel. Emptiness, isolation, the slow realization that the world moves on without your noise. That evening, I drove into town, stopped by a small diner. Nothing fancy, just a quiet place that served decent food and strong coffee. I sat there alone, watching families talk, couples laugh, people exist without pretense. My phone buzzed once, then again. Her messages, short, desperate, fragmented. "Can we talk?" I didn't know what I was losing. "Please come home." I stared at the screen, then placed the phone face down on the table. The waitress came by and asked if I wanted anything else. I said no, just the check. When I got home later, she was sitting on the couch, knees pulled to her chest. She didn't cry this time. She just looked at me and said quietly, "You're not even angry anymore." I told her, "No, I'm not anything anymore." That night, she slept on her side of the bed, curled up like a question with no answer. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, realizing that love doesn't end in fire. It ends in the quiet decision to stop returning to a place that no longer feels like home. The final morning came without warning, quiet and clean like a reset button. I woke up before sunrise, packed a single duffel, and made coffee. She was still asleep, curled beneath the blanket, unaware that this time the silence wasn't a pause, it was closure. I looked around the house one last time. Every object carried a ghost of something that used to mean more. Her Target candles on the shelf, the mug she always used, the framed photo from our first product launch. All of it still there, yet none of it alive. She woke as I was setting my cup down. Her voice was groggy, almost gentle. "Where are you going?" I told her, "Somewhere quieter." She sat up, confused, trying to read my tone. "Is this about us?" she asked. I nodded once. It always was. She tried to stand, to say more, but I think she already knew words couldn't reach me anymore. I placed an envelope on the counter, her share of everything. Bank transfers confirmed, her name cleared from the company. She didn't lose anything except me, and somehow that was the part she couldn't accept. Her eyes searched my face for anger, regret, even love. But there was only calm. When I walked toward the door, she whispered, "I never thought you'd actually leave." I stopped, turned slightly, and said, "You never thought I'd stop caring." Her face crumpled, not from rage, but from recognition. The truth had finally landed. Distance wasn't something I was giving her. It was something she'd earned. Outside, the air was cold, sharp. The truck sat in the driveway, already packed. I climbed in, started the engine, and sat there for a moment, letting the weight of the past dissolve into background noise. Through the window, I saw her standing there, barefoot, motionless, the morning light hitting her face. She wasn't chasing me. She couldn't. The part of me that once reached for her didn't exist anymore. Before pulling out, I looked back one last time and thought about what she'd said months ago. "You never hold me like you used to." Back then, she was right. I didn't hold her because I no longer felt her. And now, as I drove away, I finally understood the full meaning of what I told her in return. Because today, she would learn what real distance feels like. Real men don't explode. They exit. Subscribe for more power stories.